Hi everyone, here's another video that I'm making for a different idea that I've been working on. This is going to help out the people who likes to install RHOPs, an idea that I've been working on since early in the year. I call it the HopChop, but basically it's a jig for cutting the silicon patches out of silicon tubing. So this is the first part of a three-part video. The reason is we want to go through how to assemble one. So when we first get it, or if somebody decides to order it from Shapeways, they come in parts, and there's a little bit of assembly and a little bit of fitting. And then the second part will go over how it works. And then the third part, I'll actually try to impart some ideas that I have for using it and how to set it when you want to install it on a barrel. Full disclaimer, I have not installed an RHOP ever before. This is totally from a, if I have nothing, how would I approach the problem? And a lot of other people have done it the same way, and it's worked out well for them, so I'm kind of taking the same approach. So when I first started looking at RHOPs, the first thing that came to mind was, everybody was sort of cutting these silicon tubing, kind of just with a knife, and putting it inside a screwdriver, trying to cut it that way. And I realized that people had to spend a lot of time tuning, sanding, to get it to fit different types of windows. So kind of racked my brain a little bit to figure out how I could cut it to depth. And so I realized that I needed a blade, and I needed to hold it, and I need to hold it parallel to the tube, right? And hold it parallel to the tube at different heights. So ultimately, I decided to come up with a two-part jig. This is the blade holder. The blade holder has two magnets, neodymium magnet slots in the back. They're super glued in, and it's got basically a scale and a mark. In this case, we're only using one mark. And it allows you to rotate the feed guide 90 degrees. Standard single edge razor plugs in. There's two notches in the back here. There are two notches in the back that allows the edges of the single edge blade to lock in, so it prevents it from being pushed back. The magnets hold it down. And so that keeps it pretty much parallel and locked in. Now the magnets actually, some people would say that, well, magnets, why bother with magnets when you could have other methods? It turns out to actually work really well, and the other thing is that there's actually a good reason to kind of have it quick detach, because you later on when we talk about how to use it, you want to oil up this blade, and it just makes the whole process a little bit easier. So when you first get it, or when I first get it, comes from Shapeways in what they call strong and flexible, and it's definitely a nylon powder that they laser sinter together, and overall it can take a little bit of just a little bit of inspection to clean it up a little bit. So things like the square corners, I usually like to double check. That there isn't any powders trapped. A lot of times there'll be powders trapped inside the holes. Ooh, this one's got a lot. This just came in from Shapeways. I'll show you. looks like cocaine. Not that I would know anything about that. Yeah, same thing over here, I think, it's just a little bit minor stuff. And that's actually another reason why I couldn't build the whole thing with this material, because it kind of flakes off over time, and you can never get it to be 100% smooth. So that's why the feed guide ended up being a more expensive material, just because you really don't want to be messing with this material for when you want to feed a rubber tubing and have it not bind up. So anyway, so this is the feed guide. Oh, sorry, the blade holder, blade fixture, I should say. So all the blades should lock in like this, so you can double check it. So these are where you would put your hand to apply counter pressure when you're feeding the tubing. And you can see that there are little protectors, little edges everywhere to try to keep the blade center and away from your fingers, and all that stuff. So it's try to be as safe to operate as possible. So I've got 2 pieces of neodymium magnet here. So I forgot my super glue. Hold on a second. Now, sometimes it does take a little bit for it to set. The reason is that this stuff is porous, so it might take a little time for things to set up. Let me just clean this just a little bit more here. Okay. Right, and of course a clean surface is always going to give you the best result. Not that I can clean out this stuff too much. And usually I've not had any problems with it, just kind of adding a liberal amount of super glue. And I've even taken paper clips and just held it down for a while. Sure, I'm on screen here while I'm doing this. Yeah, I can already kind of see it seeping into the I'm sure most of you that do work with our hop have plenty of super glue sitting around. You know, certainly try other things like RTV or something like that, but super glue I think holds well. Okay, so let that set for a while, and then we can take care of other things. So like I said, we're looking at 1 notch here. This is the notch on the scale that we want to use, and white on white is kind of low contrast. So previously I would use a Sharpie, and because it's porous, if you use a Sharpie it will run, not run, but it will start to spread as like there was no tomorrow. So you can use it. It makes the mark a little bit wider. If you're concerned about that, another way that I've been doing it with this guy is I start off with a little bit of whiteout. And I start by filling this in like so. then I take any large Sharpie and I just start coloring. Everything else you really don't care too much about. You don't even have to go all the way. You can stop whenever you feel like stopping. But now there should be a clear mark that you can use, and fairly fine, more than sufficient for what we're trying to do. So that's the blade fixture. Now the feed guide. There's really just two things you need to do with the feed guide. One is, again, setting some high contrast marks on the scale, and the other one that I've been doing is smoothing out the feed hole. There's always a little bit of roughness. You can take your fingernails, kind of scratch it, and you can feel some of the roughness inside that hole. And so I have some 800 grit. This is actually 2000. 2000. Anything greater than 800 would probably be fine. And what I do is I just happen to have a mechanical pencil that does the trick here. But I wrap it, and then I just feed it right in. As soon as I get my... There we go. I think that worked. Nope, that didn't work. Definitely worked for me earlier, but the whole point is that you kind of want to smooth out the feed hole. In a couple of rounds, you're not removing a lot of material, not really a big deal, and it starts to smooth out a lot more. So a little bit of sanding of the feed hole gets you a long way to make sure that when you're feeding that tubing later, it's going to be as smooth as possible. And you will be using a little bit of silicone oil to help you there. And then the first time you install it, it could be a little bit tight, but again, some of this material on the inside of the blade fixture will start to wear in and rotate. The rotation is pretty much there. So once you're done, you can get something like this, where you have a scale, the marks, the magnet to hold the blade, and you can adjust the height of your cut. The numbers here represent how deep of the inside diameter is being cut. The biggest difference here is, well, actually I should say that I have two versions here. One is a version 2, which has -1 to 3 millimeters, and then I also have a version 3 here, which is 0 to 3 millimeters. I kind of realized that nobody's really going to be cutting a patch that's 0.5 millimeter thick, right? Because you're always going to want some part of the inside diameter. Anything less than that is really kind of useless. So again, it's all compatible. So the version 2, the scale is just all a little bit tighter, whereas with the version 3 I was able to get a little bit more space, and I was able to get 0.2 increments in the scale, so you can actually increment it halfway and get 0.1 by eye. Anyway, so there it is, and then in the next video we'll talk a little bit more about how to use it. Thanks.